That's my mother.
You really?
Yeah.
Dad, this is
Adeline.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to stay young forever? For the first minute, it might sound like an amazing gift. However, behind it, there are equally terrifying repercussions. Well, this concept is the premise of the movie that we will discuss this time. Overall, this movie managed to exceed my expectations. The movie we will review this time is called The story focuses on a beautiful woman named Adeline Bowman. Her calm and wise personality makes her extremely attractive. However, there's one unique thing about Adeline: she has multiple identities that keep getting updated from time to time. Today, she is also known as Jennifer Larson. Actually, Adeline was born in 1908. 2 decades later, she married a handsome engineer and had a daughter named Fleming. Unfortunately, their happiness did not last long as her husband had a tragic accident while building the Golden Gate Bridge. However, the tragedy of her life did not stop there. One snowy night, Adeline had a terrible accident. Her car skidded on a slippery road and hit an old bridge before plunging into an icy river. Her body temperature plummeted to 30 degrees, causing her heartbeat to stop. However, 2 minutes later, a 800 million volt lightning bolt struck her car. This event miraculously restarted Adeline's heart, and the heat generated brought her body out of its hypoxic state. This change also caused her DNA structure to undergo unique modifications, making her immune to the effects of aging. From then on, at the age of 29, Adeline stopped aging. She did a lot of research to understand her condition, but there was no scientific explanation for this strange phenomenon. Finally, she was forced to accept reality and try to adapt to her environment. To avoid people's suspicions, Adeline always attributed her youthful appearance to a healthy lifestyle, a regular diet, and regular exercise and treatments. However, life in eternity doesn't always go smoothly. A week after the incident, Adeline faced a problem. A police officer began to question her identity. The discrepancy between her official identity and her physical appearance made Adeline suspect. Not wanting to deal with the authorities, she finally decided to run away. However, her efforts attracted the attention of the National Intelligence Agency, BIN.
Adeline?
She was arrested on the grounds of further investigation. Adeline was terrified, suspecting that they would do something dangerous to her. Luckily, when the 2 agents holding her were caught off guard, she managed to escape. The next morning, without thinking, Adeline immediately decided to fly all the way to Europe. For the safety and freedom of her daughter, she was forced to leave Fleming, who was still in high school at the time. From that day on, her life was constantly on the move. To avoid suspicion, Adeline changed her identity, residence, and even her appearance every 10 years. Now, in 2014, Adeline lives her life in a simple apartment accompanied by her beloved dog. That night, an old friend invited her to a party. Nothing had changed about her appearance; she was as charming as ever. No one there knew that the night was actually her 106th birthday. While at the party, his attention was suddenly distracted by an old photo on the wall. Apparently, it was a photo of her with her friends decades ago, in the same place. Of course, she looked different then. In the midst of the party atmosphere, Adeline is still the center of attention of the men. However, their flirting was boring to her. How could she not? After more than a century of life, she was already very familiar with the ways they approached her. In fact, her intelligence makes some men feel inferior. However, in between the monotonous chatter, a charismatic man suddenly caught her eye. Their gazes met for a few seconds, until the moment was interrupted when a woman came and hugged the man. Adeline couldn't hide her disappointment and decided to go home. But as it turned out, the man was after her. He introduced himself as Ellis, a man who at first glance seemed authoritative with a unique and refreshing approach. His way of speaking, which was different from other men, made Adeline smile. Oh yes, at the party, Adeline uses her new identity and claims to be named Jenny. The woman she was with was not her lover. However, Adeline didn't seem to care much. Without giving her phone number, address, or any clues, she just left.
How do we get in touch?
I knew you're Ellis.
The next day, after a long separation, Adeline finally reunited with her daughter, Fleming. Time has passed so quickly, and now Fleming has entered her twilight years. Visually, this meeting certainly looks awkward: a mother who looks young while her daughter looks much older. But even so, Fleming still respected Adeline as her mother, without the slightest doubt about their relationship.
I love you. I love you too.
That day, at the library where Adeline worked, someone donated a large number of books. Upon seeing who the donor was, Adeline immediately realized that it was Ellis.
Hey, it's me.
Suit yourself. If you won't accept them, I won't donate them.
I don't like having my photo taken, Alice.
Apparently, this was a subtle way for him to approach her. However, Adeline didn't take too kindly to his efforts. Ellis even promised to take her to a place she had never been before. Even so, Adeline still showed no interest. Eventually, Ellis took another step. He threatened to withdraw his book donation if Adeline continued to reject his offer. For the sake of the library, Adeline is forced to agree to Ellis' invitation.
Try me.
To her surprise, Ellis actually manages to show Adeline something new. He took her to visit the tunnels of a hidden gold mine, a place she had obviously never been before. Even more unique, this gold mine is located right under the city center of San Francisco. The uniqueness of this location is enough to make Adeline interested and start to be more open to getting to know Ellis better.
But we're having lunch.
However, at the end of their meeting, Adeline suddenly revealed that she would soon be leaving the city. To her surprise, Ellis did not show any possessiveness or try to hold her back. Instead, he offers Adeline a light-hearted joke and makes a simple
I'll tell you a
bet.
joke. If you laugh, one day at Fenway Park. So it's like, okay, what can you do? And the horse says, I can hit just like...
If Adeline laughs, then she should be willing to meet Ellis once again. As it turned out, Adeline had never heard such a light-hearted joke before, and unconsciously, she laughed.
Joke I've ever heard in my entire life.
Right?
Fine.
Yeah!
That's the word.
The deal was made. The next night, as promised, they met again, this time at Ellis' house. The atmosphere that night was very romantic. Ellis even prepared a special dinner with his own hands, accompanied by a glass of wine. Ellis began to open up and share many things, including about his father, who was an astronomer and star researcher.
Claim to fame was that he discovered an unusual comet. Anni amori e bicchieri di vino non ci contento mai.
You have no idea.
However, despite his vast knowledge, Ellis still seemed like a regular guy when dealing with Adeline. Ellis also admitted that the first time he saw Adeline was when she was reading a book in French. The moment instantly mesmerized him. However, Adeline just smiled and tried to dampen the admiration by saying that the book was just beginner's reading material. Long story short, their long chat ended early in the morning.
I cannot believe it.
It's better this way.
You can tell me anything.
Adeline hurriedly said goodbye on the grounds that she had to leave for the office immediately. Elsewhere, Ellis was facing a business problem. He was having trouble negotiating with a client who only spoke Portuguese. Suddenly, however, someone around him helps translate the conversation fluently. When Ellis turned around, he was surprised that it was Adeline. Without saying much, Adeline immediately returned the cell phone she was using to translate and said goodbye without giving Ellis a chance to ask further questions. Her sudden departure left Ellis with an overwhelming sense of curiosity. When Adeline got home, she was shocked by the weak state of her beloved dog. The doctor declared that the poor dog had kidney failure, meaning his body was no longer able to filter toxins properly. The passing of her loyal friend left a deep wound in Adeline's heart. As she walked around the apartment complex feeling distraught, Ellis suddenly appeared with flowers. However, instead of feeling comforted, Adeline became increasingly upset.
You serious?
She felt like Ellis was a stalker who kept following her around, as if he didn't want to give her any space for herself. When Adeline finally arrives at her apartment, Fleming, her daughter, immediately brings up her mother's love life. Fleming argues that Adeline should start living like a normal person, have a partner without constantly running away. After all, the people who used to chase her must have died a long time ago.
On New Year's Eve, you leave me alone. What? No.
Fleming's statement provoked Adeline. For the first time, she began to tell him about Ellis. The next night, Adeline came to see Ellis to apologize. However, there was something different in her demeanor this time. She seemed more mysterious and unpredictable. Perhaps, this was Adeline's true side. Interestingly, Adeline uses the same method as Ellis did before.
Incredibly kind to me. He's been.
She offers an invitation visiting a place that Ellis has never been to. In short, Ellis agreed and they went to the location. The place in question turned out to be an old museum. At first, Ellis didn't think the museum was anything special. However, when the projector in the museum was turned on, the atmosphere changed completely. This time, the atmosphere was much more intense, even deeper for Adeline herself. She began to show a more open side than before.
They're here! Oh, there you are.
Hey, son.
Coincidentally, it was Ellis' parents' 40th wedding anniversary that week. With great enthusiasm, Ellis invited Adeline to celebrate with the family. Upon arriving at Ellis' house, they were warmly welcomed by the whole family. However, the warmth instantly changed when Ellis' father appeared. Upon seeing Adeline, her father suddenly called her name in a surprised tone.
Adeline.
As Ellis was introducing Adeline to his family, there was a deep stare between Adeline and her father that lasted for a few seconds. However, Adeline quickly tried to break the ice by saying that her name was taken from her mother.
Joe, you really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Unfortunately, this incident seemed to shake William Ellis' father mentally.
We were very close.
Incredible. What are the odds?
He seemed completely unable to accept what he had just heard. His old memories came rushing back, reminding him of the first day he met Adeline in London. At that time, Adeline was having trouble starting her car. With the help of Ellis, who was an automotive engineer, the car finally started. That was the beginning of their acquaintance.
You still haven't told me your name.
Adeline Bowman.
The next morning, the whole family gathered again. Ellis began to tell the story of how he first met Adeline. At that time, William, his father, seemed so ambitious when discussing the woman's figure. Seeing her husband so eagerly reminiscing about Adeline, William's wife finally asked about how they were acquainted in the past. Without hesitation, William mentioned that Adeline was a unique and extraordinary woman. She spoke 4 languages, was intelligent, and had a mind full of wisdom. However, even though William thought it was just nostalgia, the story hurt his wife's heart. Feelings of jealousy appeared on her mother's face. Fortunately, William was smart enough to handle the situation, so the tension was quickly diffused. That evening, they continued their time together with a classic game, a guessing game of knowledge. So far, William, Ellis' father, had never been beaten, thanks to his incredible intelligence. The questions drawn from the paper were not common questions that were easy to answer. However, this time all the rules changed because Adeline was on a different level.
Country was Albert Einstein, offered the presidency in 1952.
Israel.
Still love you.
The next night, Adeline chose to leave Ellis busy at work. She walks alone to the park, enjoying the evening atmosphere. Unexpectedly, she found William there, looking up at the starry sky. They had a light conversation about stars and the night sky, until Adeline finally asked something surprising: why did William use his mother's name as the name of his research project on stars? With an expression full of memories, William explained that the project was inspired by his past story with Adeline, a story that almost ended happily, but ended tragically. At the time, William had actually intended to propose to Adeline. He had even prepared an engagement ring. However, before he could express his feelings, Adeline suddenly left him.
William, she loved you too.
Arriving at the room, Ellis finally expressed his feelings to Adeline. However, Adeline's reaction was unexpected. Instead of replying or rejecting, she was very passive. In a quiet voice, she simply said that she was not ready to hear that. The next day, they met again in a seemingly normal atmosphere. Nothing was different. However, when William accidentally saw the stitch marks on Adeline's left hand,
Sorry, it's a ladybug.
his expression immediately changed. His eyes stared blankly, as if his mind was wandering far into the past. Without a word, William rushed towards the warehouse, looking like someone who had just remembered something very important. He rummaged through old things, looking for something that seemed to mean a lot to him. Then, he found an old photograph. His gaze fixated on it, and all the memories of his past with Adeline came flooding back into his mind. The memories were so vivid. He had treated the wound on Adeline's hand when they were in the middle of the forest. Instantly, curiosity turned into certainty. With a determined expression, William immediately grabbed his car keys and rushed after Adeline.
I know.
William looked at Adeline seriously, demanding honesty from her. The stitch marks on Adeline's hand couldn't lie because William himself had stitched the wound with his hands.
I stitched it myself.
William.
Adeline, who initially pretended not to know anything, suddenly burst into tears. With a trembling voice, she apologized to William.
Don't disappear again, please. For Alice.
She finally admitted the reason behind her silence all this time. Adeline was afraid that she would be used as an experimental object by the scientists, afraid that the world would think of her as something abnormal, and afraid of all the bad things that might happen to her. William listened with understanding. Now, he wanted only one thing: beg Adeline to stop running away, both for Ella's sake and her own.
You've never told anyone?
However, instead of accepting the request, Adeline ran away. William chased after her, trying to persuade her, but his efforts were in vain. Shortly after, Ellis arrived, but all he found was a piece of paper containing a message from Adeline. In it, Adeline stated that their relationship could not continue. Dad! Ellis was devastated and confused. Without thinking, he immediately went to his father, asking for an explanation. However, William was just like Adeline, unable to say anything. He only asked Ellis to immediately pursue Adeline. But alas, fate had another say. On the way, Adeline's car had a tragic accident. A truck slammed into her vehicle, sending her flying off the road. That night, it snowed heavily, and Adeline's body lay in the cold night air. As a result, her blood circulation plummeted, causing severe hypothermia. Without realizing it, her body slowly began to freeze. Several hours passed. Ellis finally managed to find Adeline. But unfortunately, her heart had already stopped beating. At 8:37 p.m., Adeline was medically declared lifeless. However, at 10 p.m., the medical team took emergency action. They used a 750-volt defibrillator to try and revive her. And that's where a miracle happened. The voltage managed to revive her heartbeat. Adeline was rushed to the hospital in a weak, but fully conscious condition. Meanwhile, Ellis continued to blame himself.
Thank you.
He thought that Adeline's escape was caused by his words that night. However, Edwin gently denied it. Now, he has expressed the same feelings to Ellis. Finally, the truth was revealed.
My name isn't Jenny.
At the same time, Flaming arrives, and, in typical nosy fashion, she pretends to be Adeline's grandmother in front of Ellis. However, once she realizes that Ellis already knows everything, the atmosphere becomes more emotionally charged. One year passed. Now, Adeline lives with Flaming and a cute little dog. That night, before Edwin and Ellis left for the party, Ellis had gone back to her room to retrieve a bag she had left behind. However, as she passed the glass wall, something stopped her in her tracks. Something she had never seen before. One of her hairs had turned white. And right then and there, she realized one thing: she was back to being a normal human being. The happiness she felt that night could not be described in words. Oh yeah, there's one more thing. On the same night, the comet that William had been researching finally appeared in the sky. His research proved to be correct. Everything went as predicted, as beautiful as he imagined. It's just that the moment comes too late, 50 years later than expected. And with that, the movie ends. This story truly defies the laws of nature, illustrating how eternal life can have profound consequences for those who live it. What do you think? Write your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for those of you who haven't. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.